The Standard says 20 targeted as plot on Ruto allies move to houses, while the Daily Nation is going to with Ouko set to clear controversial Eurobond deal. Do you think the headlines were fair? I will start with you on my immediate right. Sam Atandi. Honorable.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
I think the headline on
the Standard?
On the Standard is exaggerated.
Exaggerated?
Yeah.
Why?
It's exaggerated because the actions that the government is taking against some of these MPs who have refused to work with Kenyans in the direction that Kenyans are expecting is actually justifiable, and it doesn't need to be. It's a small matter. Some members of parliament have excessive security.
Yeah.
More than four members of four bodyguards, and if the government is
they're saying some have even 5.
Yes, if the government is taking administrative action on some of those MPs, I don't think it does not need to be a headline.
But don't you think it's curious the timing of the withdrawal of these security guards?
No, the government action can be taken any time.
Yeah.
Nobody should define for government what time they should take administrative action on a particular matter. So I think the timing for me is right, but also I think this needs to be seen in the broader context of what's happening in the country right now.
Okay.
If we have just come from an elections, controversial election.
Yes.
And as members of opposition, we have said that we want this country to take a positive turn.
Yeah.
We want things to be done properly for our economy. We want Kenyans to have money in their pockets. We want businesses to be revived. And then we have a team of members of parliament led by a deputy president who are actually doing the contrary. So I think the presidency is right, in taking some of these actions. Though I do not think that these actions should really dominate headlines of our major newspapers.
Okay. Honorable Didmas Barasa, do you think it is justified, the Standard's headline?
First, I would want to say it's with a lot of regrets.
Yes.
That the statements that are being peddled by my good friend, Honorable Atandi. Because a few months ago, when NASA was all over the streets, disrupting the economy of this country, misusing their security officers, when the government withdrew their security for very valid reasons, they were all over crying on the streets everywhere that our security has been taken away. But here comes when the security of members of parliament are taken away. The gentleman is saying that is justifiable. I think these are the kind of people that we do not need in this country. They are misleading the general public. Because I can only go by what the spokesperson of the National Police Service said. And they said that they were withdrawing the security from the Kenya Police and replacing them from the administrative police unit. But my only worry is that when you are substituting, you're supposed to give a notice to this member of parliament that will look for an alternative bodyguard in the next 1 week. We are going to replace your security for whatever reason. Because we have a number of reasons as to why the government can recall a security guard. If he has gotten a promotion, or if maybe you got them from a specialized police unit, like maybe GSU, that they are going back. Because there's the special, the SGB are the one that usually provides VIP security. So I think I just want to ask my colleague to really make clear statements, not necessarily defending a matter because you are benefiting from it. Because tomorrow it will be you. A few months ago it was NASA members of parliament. Now it's members of parliament allied with the deputy president. So we must condemn this act within the strongest terms possible.
The lawyer in
but the only
House,
headline that I think is also justified is this on Eurobond.
Yes, the nation is leading the Ouko set to clear
Eurobond was scandalized. Was meant to be a controversial deal by NASA leader Raila Odinga. So that's why we are saying that NASA leader Raila Odinga has no local stand-in. Of course, he may say something kind of whistleblowing, But at the end of the day, that matter must end up in the hands of the investigative agencies and the Office of the Auditor General to be able to provide clear answers. Because these are the people who will give this country real facts and not politics that doesn't stand the test of time.
Now let's hear from the lawyer in the House, Ambrose Weda. Do you think the headlines are justified, and which one has more merit between the Eurobond scandal and the targeted members of parliament?
Thank you so much. I think we would not look at it in terms of merits.
Yes.
They are all pointing different directions.
Yes.
And depending on the piece of information that the media has picked. When you take the standard 20 targeted at plot on Ruto allies moved to houses, I hear that some security with the drone.
Yes.
From members of parliament. I don't know how many they have. They should have told us, and they should have also told us who is threatening them, because they are more popular than some of us. I think you'd agree that maybe because they went to Tanga, you find Kiambu governor loitering elsewhere and so on and so forth. And they know they have enemies. They know there's a fight. There are some people in government who do not like them. So it depends with who has authority.
Okay. And
that authority is being flexed to make them a bit fearful. But I think this is usual. One time you sleep in the middle, another day you sleep at the end. So for now, those who are close to Ruto, they are sleeping in the cold kidogo. Their day will come. The other day it was Honorable Raila, as Mheshimiwa said, who was sleeping on the streets. Now he is eating cake with the president. So Mheshimiwa Ruto and some of his people must feel the heat. But these are all temporary. If you look at the headline on the Eurobond, I remember one time the question during elections, the question of the Eurobond was very hot. And it was said Mheshimiwa Ruto had eaten everything. I think I don't know what blood is in Mheshimiwa Ruto's veins. Everybody was like, he is the one who has eaten Eurobond, he should tell us. And government was at pains to try to explain. It appears sometimes we talk without facts. And therefore, when that comes out and the Auditor General makes a clarification, then our leaders should always be faithful when they talk about serious issues of corruption, serious issues of money.
And that story,
Let me come in on this Eurobond headline. I think I've read through this story.
Yes.
What is in the headline is, there's no substance in the story, because the story...
Is it misleading?
Yes, the headline is misleading because the story talks about a secret team that is yet to publish their finding. But I think on the question of Eurobond, I think it needs to be very clear. When we raised concerns about Eurobond and how the money was brought into the economy, we were basically asking what are the projects that were funded by Eurobond. And at that time, the Treasury CS was not able to show us any single project that was funded by Eurobond resources. And I think this really will still remain an issue because UCO will not give a clean bill of health to this Eurobond story unless we are shown what are the projects that were funded by these Eurobond resources. That has not been done.
Perhaps it's made
and
relevant.
If my colleague here, Didman Baraza, can show me some of those projects, then we will be very clear.
Perhaps it's just made relevant by the war on corruption, or that has been very hitting the headlines lately. So maybe that's what's making it quite a relevant story today.
But things, my good friend here sits on the Supervisory Committee of National, very important committee of Parliament called Public Accounts Committee. He knows that, legally, he can only react on a matter that facts are put on the table.
Yes.
And the only office that has got such a mandate is the Office of the Auditor General. So you can't set your own terms of reference. The Auditor General is guided by the audit guidelines. But my good friend here is guided by politics, which is usually skewed to suit where the plight of the divide where he stands for.
And also we are also having the same issue of Team Tanga Tanga versus Team Kitaeleweka making headlines in various sections of the papers. We have been talking about this since last week. Perhaps we can start with the lawyer, Ambrose Weda. Is this justified? Or are we making the news by just keep by speculating and trying to figure out who is right and who is wrong. What is going on? Do you think this is something that needs to still be in the papers, if vis-a-vis, let's say, the other social issues that are happening in Kenya?
I think if I have not read the depth, I've not seen the document. But if
we had Francis Atwoli giving a statement, and we're having supporters of the DP giving a rejoinder.
I think these people have conspired to build the deputy president.
Yeah.
They are building him everywhere. In fact, every child newly born, the first name they know is Tintangatanga, DP Ruto. And you see, that's how people like Raila were built, so that as we grew up, we knew Jacob, Baba, all these things. It becomes a colossus.
Yes.
Now these people, especially Tandi's team, who came in through the handshake, and then they ate cake, and now they are chocorating the house too much, fighting the deputy president left, right, and center. I think looking at it, some of the things people are now, I think every day you look around and say, what will we use to attack the deputy president? What will we use to hit? And who we want to show more, who loves the president more, who is closer to the president, who can die for the president. And you see the newcomers, the guilty are afraid. The newcomers have come in and they are chocorating too much.
Yes.
It is very, very unfortunate if the Auditor General was to clear and say Eurobond was okay. After his office has caused so much propaganda and pain over the same amount. I remember there were times we were in this meeting saying, please, let's look at the document. Bring the document. The minister was publishing, buying the whole pages in the newspapers, explaining, we received this money. 10 shillings went here. And everybody would dismiss. Now if he was to sneak back, and say, oh, there was everything all right, just because there's a handshake. I think we would one day ask him, Bwana, Uko maybe just got up, step aside so that we put Natandi to be in charge.
Honorable Barasa, you have been very vocal in these matters. Do you think it's too much? Kitaeleweka versus Tangatanga. What do you think about the media coverage? And also, you guys have been quite vocal about these issues.
See, this team Kitaeleweke is a team made up of a small fraction of MPs who have their own frustrations. People like Maina Kamanda, they lost elections to a young man, and he thinks that maybe the deputy president had a hand in his loss. People like this guy who was not sure whether to run for governor of Nairobi or governor of Murang'a or president, called Peter Kenneth. He's neither here nor there. So these are fellas who have gone to bed with the ODM. Members of parliament, including Atandi, and they have been infected by bad manners from ODM. Now they are loitering all over. But what they have done is that if the statement of these people are making something to go by, you can only agree that they have increased the fees for hiring witch doctors in this country because they've frequented there with a lot of money. You can only, at times, when you visit a witch doctor, and a witch doctor tells you that this neighbor of yours who lives on your left-hand side of your gate will die in the next 3 months, then you believe that witch doctor, you come and address the national television that so-and-so will not be on the ballot. Really, how did you know that so-and-so will not be on the ballot? The only entity that decides who should be on the ballot and who should not is IEBC.
This is true.
So really, and I want to ask these people to tone down. Let them put together their party, let them oversight government, but these fellas are confused. When you are on the street for a very long time and you meet the president for the first time and you eat a cake, you enter State House, you get kind of confused. You begin to, they are suffering from culture shock. That even with their position not defined in government, really, these are people whom I can call political hangarounds around the presidency. Because their position is not defined. What is their role? What is their role? I mean, I hear them saying that they are in government, and I wonder whether it's government of Siaya, government of Migori, or which government that they claim every day. They are inside. They should tone down and restrict themselves to the duty that Kenyans put them to do in the opposition and oversighting the government.
I guess if they do tone down the coverage. Let Honorable Atandi and then you can come to
I think we are in a TV studio.
Yes.
And my brothers here need to understand that this is not a funeral.
Okay.
You want to make unflattering statements. I take great exception to the statements by the lawyer, Ambrose Weda, who is claiming that we are chokoraring. That word is using chokoraring the government, and fighting Ruto. I expect Ambrose Weda, who is an accomplished advocate of the High Court, to make convincing statements here.
Okay.
Everybody understands the history of this country.
Yes.
And we know where we are coming from. And I want to advise my colleagues, the politicians, that let us not underestimate the import of the handshake.
Yeah.
The import of the Building Bridges program that the President and His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga have begun. And the politicians, you must be aware that Kenya is going to be new. When Atuoli spoke in Lamu yesterday at 1, he made very convincing statements. And it is very clear, everybody knows, Kenya is going to be a new country. We are not going to be a country where people accused of criminality have access to state leadership.
Yeah.
I think that's the message that Willie was trying to say. And in every country, even if you go to if Africa here, we go to South Africa, for instance, there are statesmen who are bold enough to speak to leadership.
Yeah.
Every country, even if you go to the US, we have statesmen. Atuoli is one of our statesmen today, somebody who is bold, who can speak his mind, and is not influenced. Some of my colleagues here who speak in funerals and make noise, they speak because they have been induced.
Induced by what?
They've been induced by little money here and there, or they have been hired to go and talk.
Okay.
We are having a statesman speaking to leadership and telling Kenyans that we have a new country.
Okay.
At the end of the day, when this Building Bridges program is done, we are going to have a clean country. And if, by the way, even my colleague, if you know you have criminal elements, you will not be allowed to even to run for any leadership position. So it is very clear that there are some people who will not be able to run, not because we are going to kill them, but they will not be, the bar of integrity will be so high that they will not even find themselves as candidates. And this is the point that needs to be listened to.
Okay.
You see, Triggs, at times when I see people talk about what the handshake has brought in this country, I bleed. There are individuals in this country led by my good friend here. When they talk about peaceful coexistence, the whole nation shrinks. And it bleeds because these are people who, after the last general elections, they went on the streets. Very many lives of the hard-working Kenyan people was lost. Businesses of very many Kenyans were brought down in Kisumu and every part of this country. And my good friend here was, today if you play the video of 2013, 2017 skirmishes, you will see him. And to me, I think these are fellows who belong to jail. And if the rule of law stands in this country, we should be setting up local tribunals immediately when we are entering a general election to ensure that such people who want to incite Kenyans to go to the streets by swearing themselves in illegally, they should be dealt with perpendicular.
I think I'll give the legislator a chance to speak. Then you can defend yourself, Honorable Atandi.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. What I wanted to ask, Mheshimiwa, described in details how people approach witch doctors and how they work and what they prophesy. As a lawyer, I could easily say that we have seen some of the candidates who, Mheshimiwa, do you normally see them? But anyway, that aside, the handshake itself is good. It's brought an element of stability. Stability in the region, in the country, the propaganda that used to be hurled from the NASA wing of the country has gone down and the country is moving. It's only that they have brought in more heat against the deputy president. I wish they just left the deputy president to work. If he is found to be dipping his hands in the tail on matters matters that can be called corruption, then the DCI is there and the DPP, and they can clearly, easily call him and tell him to explain. And if he does not explain, then I have no problem in saying he should be prosecuted. But now he's being prosecuted more by the NAS, the Atandi team, because I think the Atandi team are prosecuting the deputy president so much that he can't work. They think if he's removed or if he's down, then they will go up. It doesn't work that way. Just like they come in peace and they bring peace, and Honorable Raila becomes the statesman that he is, then the country will be much better. I think the president wants us to work on the 4 agenda items to build the lives of Kenya, food security, not the usual politics and the talking and the jumping. So I respect the opinion of Mheshimiwa Honorable Atwoli.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think on matters of integrity, on matters of goodness, let's leave it to our Lord Jesus Christ, because most of us cannot throw the first stone.
Okay.
Let me say that
one last word before we move on to another topic.
Let me say that we know the history of the 2017 elections and what happened. We went through elections and we went to court, and the court vindicated us that the elections were not properly conducted.
Yes.
And my brother here and everybody knows that we went through the legal process.
This is true.
And the issues that emanated out of the elections were some of the Kenya had one of the tough moments politically and economically. And our decision as NASA to work with the government to reorganize this country is something that somebody cannot come here and begin to water down. It is what has moved this country to this level. On William Ruto, I think nobody is fighting William Ruto. William Ruto is actually his own enemy. He's an enemy of his own security, and he is an obstacle to the progress that Kenyans want to make.
How do you justify this?
Because the handshake was between his boss, the president, and my boss, the leader of NASA.
Okay.
But he begins to undermine the processes, by, recently was saying here that he was saying on TV that corruption cannot undermine the progress of a country. Yeah, that you can still develop a country despite the existence of corruption.
Okay.
That all these processes that are going on, which he has been explained to, which is good for all of us. So we are not going to allow one person to stop the country from making the kind of steps that are put in place. We are not in government.
Okay.
And Raila Odinga is not in government.
All right.
He sits in cabinet every Thursday. Does he sit with Raila Odinga in his cabinet? So when the likes of Didmas Baraza in rallies, in funerals, begin to accuse my party leader of undermining their government, I think we have a total confused elements of leaders in government.
He has mentioned
so
goodness.
Let me finish. So I think what we need to do, we need to have honest leadership conversations in this country. And I want to tell members of parliament, you do not qualify to talk nonsense simply because you are elected. Right. We have in this country great leaders who have never fought for elected position, and there are people Kenya should listen to. I don't think Kenya should listen to me merely because I was elected.
This is true.
It is wrong. So I think let members of parliament, let politicians know that this country is bigger than their aspirations.
Honorable
for once, I want to agree with my good friend Atandi here. He's a young member of parliament like myself. He's trying his luck in politics. And he comes from a region where for you to successfully win an election, a competitive election, your manifesto number 1 is to defend Baba, whether it's right or wrong. So all that one, I can agree with him. He's just fighting
let that be the word.
Let's stay with the issues.
Okay, thank you. Let's stay with the issues. And there is